morning, friends, and happy Monday to you. I have been reflecting on something, and I really believe this is a message for the global church. I really believe in these days, not just at Enkindle, although this is definitely a relentless pursuit for us. But I believe that He is returning us back to the simple gospel and really just back to this purity. And so I really want to share with you some of what He's simply been sharing with me and pass that along. And I've been reading, of course, in the Word, and I've specifically been reading about Cornelius. And do you ever have that moment when you read something and it just resounds in your spirit over and over? We all probably read in the Word daily and absorb, and it's all amazing truth, but there's just that one thing, it just kind of, like in the South they say, gets stuck in your craw, like it's just gets stuck there. And I've really been reflecting on something, and it has to do with Cornelius out of Acts. And do you recognize that Cornelius, he wasn't like a main player as far as like an apostle or a disciple, but I love Cornelius because of this one thing. Cornelius was literally known in heaven for two things. He was known for prayer, and he was known for almsgiving. Now, I brought this up last week on our huddle at Enkindle that we do weekly and asked, does anybody know what almsgiving is? That's kind of an old-fashioned term, and the Bible I was reading, I think English Standard Version, something like that, and there was one person, and it happened to be my mom, who knew what almsgiving was, and I love that. And she reminded us that it's simply helping the poor. And so Cornelius is fasting. He's in his fourth day, and all of a sudden he sees an angel, and the angel says, your prayers, Cornelius, have come up as a memorial in heaven. Do you recognize the power of prayer? Even as a prayer person, in my own confession as an intercessor, there's moments that I forget and need to be reminded that when we pray, we literally are partnering, and we are literally moving heaven to come into alignment we're having earth come into alignment with heaven, and we're moving heaven on earth's behalf. And there's so much power in prayer. But can you imagine that moment in your life where it's like, okay, Christy, okay, Joe, okay, your prayers have come up as a memorial before God in heaven today. Like, you're visited by this angel, like, oh, by the way, your prayers came up as a memorial in heaven today. And that is amazing to me. So then as the week goes on, I'm reading in the Word, and oftentimes I just open the Word, and wherever it opens, I just know that's the Word for me that day. And I started reading about Tabitha, or Dorcas, some translations say. And most of us know that story because Peter raised Tabitha from the dark, right? And from the dead, I'm sorry. That's what happens when you're driving in traffic. Peter raised Dorcas from the dead. I am stopped in traffic, Mom, so I'm not going fast. And what happens is so incredible, and that's obviously the point of the story, but that's what we remember it for. But I something else jumped out to me in that passage. Do you know that Tabitha was also known for her prayers and for helping? And I really believe in these days that the Lord's calling us back to the simplicity of the gospel, to the purity. And do you know how powerful prayer is? I find it fascinating that Jesus taught his disciples to pray. That's what the Gospels tell us. He didn't teach his disciples to preach, which I love preaching. It's amazing. He didn't teach them to disciple others. He taught them to pray because prayer is literally the foundation or the pivot point from which everything in a believer's life develops. And so at Enkindle, we've really gotten back to the heart of this message. We've really gotten back to prayer and helping the poor. And do you recognize, friends, that's really what a city taker is. And so there's lots of ways that we're doing that. And if you're interested in that, check it out. But really, that's not why I'm here. I really want to remind you this week of the power of your prayers. My sister-in-law, Brooke, has this amazing quote that she's often shared with me over the years. And it's, perseverance produces a crop. We have to recognize that in prayer. And so keep going, and let's get back to the simplicity, to the purity, and to the power of His Word and prayer. I hope you have an amazing week. I am cheering you on so loud. Love you guys.